All right. Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to one and all watching. My name is Suryansh Basumalik. I will be your host for this episode of the What Now Show. Today we have with us a very special guest. He is a medical professional. He is a renowned senior consultant in neurosurgery with a special interest in the functional and complex spine. He is currently working as a senior consultant neurosurgeon at the Medical Super Specialty Hospital in Kolkata, India. He is a very qualified individual in his field. He has an MBBS in from the year 1993. He is a proud graduate of the Royal College of Surgeons of Ireland back in 1998. He was awarded with the certificate of neurosurgery, the European certificate of neurosurgery in 2008. He has several papers and presentations over his years as a professional. He is a very accomplished man in his field. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our guest, Dr. Sunandan Basu. How are you, Dr. Basu?
Okay, I just thanks a lot. It's great to speak on over here. And with this COVID situation, it's pretty strange that we are just over the Zoom. We are calling each other. This is the new normal for at least a year or so. What we are thinking about. So
Right.
welcome to the new digital world.
Right. So we'll get to that actually. So what I wanted to do today is I wanted to not attack literally, but figuratively, work on how you as Dr. Basu, got your start and like build on that from the ground up. So of
See,
course you have a vast level of expertise and the amount of accolades that you hold that we saw on your website actually is rather jaw-dropping. So what I want to start by asking you is there back in 1993 when you were actually working on getting your MBBS and your different qualifications, what pushed you to choose that yes, I want to go after neurosurgery, I want to choose this field?
Means basically when you're a young surgeon, when you're a young medical student, uh, you always think that you're going to do something outstanding in your life, and that's the main thing what everyone thinks. In fact, many of the people who comes from the CIS to do their stuff with me, the attachments, and many of them means they wanted to focus that why did you switch to neurosurgery? Whoever is doctors who are trained in
Right. I
should be
think you're breaking up, sir.
am I breaking up?
Sir, I think your audio is
No,
breaking up.
I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, that's better. That's better.
Yeah. The thing is that what I always say to any of the guys who's coming into medical students or going to do medicine is that you should be a safe surgeon at the end of the day. You should be a safe doctor. The first thing you should be thinking in, do no harm to the patient. See, everyone as a doctor would try to do the heroic things and everything, try and treat the patients. But the first thing is in the mind that whatever you do, try and always be safe to the doctor. So way back in 1993, in the 1980s, I started my medical school in 86. And then all the way 91, I passed out and then did my internship in National. And 93, I completed my house job before leaving the country. That was way back in 94. But over there, I did my training, everything. When I started off, I always wanted to be in way back in 1988, I think so. That was when I first was exposed to the operating theater. So as a young person, oh great, it's an appendix, so let's try our hands on. So that's the way it gets on, and that's how you are trained. That okay, fine, your seniors are watching you. At the point of time, I was doing the operations, but I have to scrub off the sweat and everything. So that's the way it got on. And that's how you are trained. That okay, fine, you are a senior, you are a doctor,
Right, sir, I think
you
your
should be
audio
safe
is
to the
breaking up
patient.
once again.
Now
Right. So we got cut off. I'll pose the question once again. What got you into the field of neurosurgery? Like how you got your start?
So way back when I was a young chap, means not young as you. So it was in in the mid 20s that when you pass your MBBS, and when I did my FRCS after that, I was thinking the options of what to do. And at that time, what happened was my is it okay? You can
Yeah,
see
yeah,
me.
yeah. We can hear you, sir. Yeah,
What happened was that my father passed away in 96 and he had a brain problem that time. And so, well, I flew down. Unfortunately, he did not circumstand to the brain surgery, but it wasn't anything against the person over there. At that time, neurosurgery was in its primitive. So way back in 98, I decided, okay, fine, let's crack on with the neurosurgery and see how it goes. And then I joined after getting the FRCs, I joined the Beaumont in Dublin, and it's one of the premier institute in uh, the Royal College of Surgeons attached to it. And from there, I cracked on, and then 2000, I was given a job in Newcastle, where then that started my training, which went all the way up to 2008. Because it's a long way of what I would say is that going in with the training, it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough going, hard going. At that time, you have to, the rota was that you're on call every other day or the day before, so that you are in the hospital for 24, 72 hours, 48 hours, and then you go home, you sleep, you study, and then you're back home. So this was the routine which you have to follow. Can you
right.
hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I got that. Right, then that makes sense. Right, it's a very interesting story about how you got into the field, actually. Well, here's another question. Well, of course, we know how you decided into the field of neurosurgery, but a common question I think you've been asked before is that a common philosophy that's not as prevalent as it was back then in the 1900s was the common Indian philosophy of, doctor, lawyer, engineer, or failure. So were you one such victim of that philosophy, or did you choose to be a medical professional on your own accord?
No, I wasn't that, because my parents were pretty clear that whatever you do, want to do, you can do. And the simple reason is that once I did my MBBS, they asked me, do you want to stay in the country, or want to go out? And at that time, being a young kid, no, I want to go out and explore the world. And in fact, in our batch, we had a huge exodus of more than half of the class going off to UK. And settling out there. And more or less, if you see my batchmates and everything, they are, half of them are there, settled down there. And a couple of us have come back to India. But it's that time you decide, okay, fine, I'm going to do it. It's more of a trauma surgery, neurosurgery with a special aspect coming into play. And then you think that, yeah, you can do it. It's a tough going, but at the end of the day, you think, yeah, you can do it. There's no harm in trying it.
Right.
But the main thing, what I've said before, is that you have to be a safe surgeon before you do anything.
Right. I think if there's anyone watching, this should be a golden rule that they should actually live by if that's a area they're actually interested in. So I think now that we've actually gotten into the terms of philosophies, of course, let's actually try to like draw a few comparisons here. So of course, the system of education that we follow now has quite a few differences as compared to what it was back then, right? So when it comes to the field of science, and of course, let's take neurosurgery for example. If you were to really draw a comparison between how it was when you were back in college, and if there's any idea that you have of how it's taught now, how the system, of course, with a whole new set of information that we're exposed to, uh, how or in what way would you compare the change that it's come through? Is it for the better, for the worse? Is it a unique change? What do you think?
See, the science is always evolving and it's always changing. You have to have to the new ideas which is coming up in the world. See, previously we never thought of having robotic surgery. That's coming into play. Previously we used to put in going into the brain with just CT scanners, and looking at the CT scan, then you go in and go into the brain where you want to, thinking that you're in the right place. But now we have the robot system, or we have the computer guided system, which which just targets you exactly that way into the brain I want to go with the least part uh, or the least area where I can damage the brain itself. The other thing is the initially, if you have a look at that, the anesthesia part of it. In previous year, the anesthesia has developed like milestone. Over here, initially was totally you have to keep the patient awake. The patient was breathing and pain and everything. Then came the general anesthesia where the patient's supposed to sleep at the moment and totally with the sleep you're doing it. Now the beautiful thing is that you're keeping the patient awake and you're operating on them. And that's the wonderful part is that by keeping the patient away, you are being able to see that what the patient's functions are. So if we are going into the final part of the brain, so you can be seeing what's going on there. So that's the best part of the new system.
Right. It's quite a unique advancement actually, because the level to which, I mean, we're seeing of how like technology is taking over in so many different ways, but it's really hard to, I mean, at least on my level, from what it seems, it must be much easier for you to tell that, the how advanced the technology has really come, because of how much of actual application it has in your field, because the amount of the safe surgery, in your words, that it would actually help in. It's quite fascinating. This brings me to my next question about new times. Of course, we all know the notorious COVID-19. So, of course, you've been working usually in through your own chamber back at Medica at this current day and age. So, how different has it become? How different are your operations as a medical professional with the whole situation of COVID-19? Are you still going to your chambers, or how are you working?
See, the COVID-19 situation has totally changed the world. But the one thing what I would say still is that the world hasn't changed a lot, that the patients are still coming and we should be taking it, be more safe. The thing is, if you look at the system of the COVID coming, we are doing systems, certain things more often like that we are washing our hands more, we are wearing a mask more, we are doing, covering up our head and everything. The risk of the reinfections and everything has come down. So we are leading now a healthy life. We are not going out and spending a lot of money going out binge drinking. And the amount of road traffic accidents, these have come down a lot. So there is some positive aspect, there is some negative aspect. It's a virus, we have to live on with it until the vaccine or there is some sort of definite treatment for it. But it's changed and we have to see the patient directly. Okay, fine, we can do a consultations over the phone. But if there is a tumor or something in the spine or the brain, you can't go and say that, oh, I'm going to operate on the patient over the phone. No, you have to see the patient and you have to take the proper precautions. Once the proper precautions are taken, I think so it goes safely with the patients, everything. Now the soft means, can you see my video over here? Can you see I'm holding on to something over
Yes,
there?
yes,
Yeah, if you just look at this, this is a simple thing. That's a Dettol hand wash. And you keep it in your pocket and everything, and you use it for the people and everything. And that's what's helping the people to get washed. The other thing, which if you can see at my head, I'm wearing a cap. It's a simple thing. It just prevents the dirt from falling out. These are the things what we routinely use in an operating theater. This is a mask which we wear all the time. And if we are seeing any patients, we always wear this mask. Now the use of mask has gone in, and see, it does not help. There is no problem. You can breathe cleanly through it. You can do whatever you want, but it's saving yourself from the dust particles as well as the patients from operating theater. I'm wearing all this thing. The other thing which always helps is this one, which a lot of us are wearing. This is just to cover your face so that the aerosol, all the things, what we are coming to in, and to all it's saving from the patients. Now, with the wearing of the mask and everything, the data which is coming out that, yeah, it prevents the uh, droplet infections and everything. The amount of TB, the other Medicaid, the TB, which is the other killer in a country, it's gone down drastically. So these are the things which is the benefit. as regarding the COVID, it's going to stay with us. We don't know the answer. We are learning every day. Now, if you see the investment on especially, there was this period when we had that, the cyclone Amphan, and then
Right.
followed by the COVID. So everyone thought we are finished. No, we are not finished. The human being is not finished. We are trying to innovate ways and carry on with our life. And so COVID is a new era, which there are patients with COVID. Yes, 90% of the patient can stay at home and they will get better. Yet 10% needs admission. They would be getting treated in the hospital. Yes, some patients are getting better. Some patients are not. They're having problem, but no one knows the long-term future. So it's just waiting game and seeing how it goes on.
Right. That makes a lot of sense, because do you, because like the measures that you mentioned, like, carrying around those little sanitizers that you brought up, and the mask, and so on and so forth. These were also measures that, doctors and other medical experts always, said that, for basic hygiene, this is for your own safety. So do you think that the rise of COVID in turn had a small amount of a silver lining for you as a for you, the medical community, because it actually puts more attention to like what professionals have been saying all along, that, keep yourself under good hygiene measures, otherwise something like this could happen. If this happened, how would you deal with this? And now that this has actually come in, do you think that the words of medical professionals are taken with more uh, gravity, or do you think it's been the same all along?
No, it's being, people are trying, but some people they won't listen. Now, if you go out on the roads while driving and everything, you would still see some people spitting out on the road. Then some people are just eating and just dumping the things on the road. So these are the things which needs to be prevented. If we can't prevent these things, these are the basic things which needs to be done. Whether there are people like to it, they have to be told that you have to do the basic thing, and that would help you in your future things. But the people needs to at least learn. The other thing is that it's unfortunate that in the Asia and China, and the population group is very high. So the basic hygiene and the basic stuff of distancing, social distancing is not being maintained. But there should be a way out to find it. But again, thinking about that, if you see and look at the people that we are getting the immunity very well, all the peoples are getting the herd immunity, which we said. And if you look at one of the countries, Sweden, which is did not go into a lockdown scheme, but they have done very well at the moment, and they have done very well in terms of controlling the population. Whereas we have done regarding the outcomes of the disease, the recovery of the disease, if you look into it, in India, the recovery is pretty high, although we are losing a lot of people at the moment. But if you look at the recovery rate, it's pretty high compared to the rest of the world and the US. So
Right.
we are doing pretty well. If we are more vigilant with the mask and hand washing, I think so that will so way to go forward.
Right, that actually answered a lot of what I wanted to get an opinion out of in the first place. So thank you for that. Of course, this is something you haven't been too vocal about, but upon a little bit of digging up that I did on my own level, uh, it seemed to me that, over this pandemic, you too have been engaging in a lot of social work with a team of other doctors, and would you care to elaborate on more on what you've done? Because it seems that what you've been doing for the community is quite unique.
See, we were a team of doctors, and once the Amphan started, if you go way back in earlier times, that it happened in 2009, and I wasn't around, so I didn't know much about it. But my colleagues who were here, and they told me that what's happening, that this is what's happening, that after a period of any sort of this cyclone, you would need these things, that the medical team should go reach out. And immediately what we had an extensive network of our friends and colleagues who sprung into action. What we did was, even the younger generations like you came into very helping hand. And I would say that I've been very, really good that young people like you all and some other groups from the college all over Calcutta and outside West Bengal. They have been helping out straight away, going out into the villages. Unfortunately, what happened was that we couldn't go until only it was Sunday, because that's the day we were getting off. So we started off that the days where other people can go, they went off, and then we started going into the remote places where we can go in and see people. The main aim was to provide them with the acute emergency. It's not to do with the chronic medications, because after any sort of cyclone is that they suffer from diarrhea, skin disease. These are the main thing. And also that's the regular medications are not being developed to them. So, and the other thing is that there with the UNICEF, we also teamed up with the UNICEF, and they were giving us the advice and everything. Medicine getting from the company, they really provided us with free medications, everything. We went straight into the villages, giving them the water stuff. The clothes, unfortunately, we did not manage to get the clothes because people don't need those. But there were the local people, the local government were helping out them. But with the medications, the basic medications of what you need at that time is the water or the ORS, and the basic medications for diarrhea and basic skin medications for your skin disease, which you get there. And these were the medicines. We controlled this for approximately 3 months, and we found that they were slowly decreasing in number. And then the corona epidemic started. Right. So we had to back out from the acute phase of the cyclone, and we then concentrated on the corona at the moment, the COVID uh, thing which is going on at the moment. Yes, we are going with the COVID with the different hospitals from the health department with our colleagues and everything, trying to see what other people are doing, trying to help them out, giving them whatever advice we know, because we all are new to the situation. So it's a helping hand. The one good thing, it's brought us the whole of the community and other people, the social workers, to fight it out against COVID. It's not that how we do. It's a disease for the all, for the mass common. We need to fight it out. There should be a way, and that's the way out, I think. So for the younger generation also, run. It's not one person doing it. What you all have to, it's a team game. You have to work in a team, and that's how you should do it in future.
Right. That answers a lot, actually, more than what I've asked, but that is, in fact, quite enriching to know about, because a lot of different student-led organizations have been coming up. Like, for instance, there were certain few in my class, as well as I think you would know of them as well. So a lot of these organizations have actually been working on it. However, while these different student-led initiatives have been in more of the spotlight, because you've been working with the local government as well to that level. Do you think that the response that we as a state, as the state of West Bengal, could have taken in terms of dealing with coronavirus or dealing with the Amphan, do you think the approach that it has taken, like to this day, has been adequate, inadequate, or more can be done
See,
about it?
we shouldn't be criticizing anyone. Okay, this is a situation no one was aware of it, especially with the Amphan. And the good thing about Amphan is that not the administration was from the beginning, they started helping out. If you see the peak of the Amphan, it went through Calcutta with minimum damage to life. Yeah, there was damage to the electricity and everything, but this is a learning curve for every one of us. So everyone went in, they just straight away gave the helping hand. That everyone has the limitations. We shouldn't be criticizing anybody, but whatever the limitation, we all tried, including the government, everybody, the local people, in a whole hand to help others also. Regarding the COVID situation, what I said was, again, it's a learning curve. We don't know where it is going. We know that it is helping out. Even the government is learning every day. So they have come up and asking everyone, please help us. So what we are, instead of everything, the fighting which goes on, that he's not helping, no. Everyone is trying to give a positive picture. Let's get on with our life. We have to think about the economy and other people's livelihood. And with the best system, whatever we have in hand, we need to just crack on with our life and carry on.
Truer words than I've heard in a while, Doctor. So that is true, to be honest, because to that level, that is a common debate that has been on the news for a long, long time. You know, like how governments have been responding, and constant criticism from different journalists and critics through newspapers and articles and other TV debates. So I think that is in fact the most unconsidered perspective, because this is a new time for every government, every individual in any field whatsoever, because of the amounts of industry that have been hit to that level, and uh, of course on your own level, because of how your work has been carrying out. Do you think that working at Medica, and you have a lot of communicate that, because being a senior consultant in neurosurgery, you would have to work with a lot of patients. So if there were any like forms of changes you would want to make to how your life would operate in the confines of the hospital, or how you would be working, are there any changes you would make to that system, like anything different that you would want to
Oh
be done?
yeah, definitely there is. If you see, yeah, means if I look at my hospital at the moment, and especially my MICC team, or we call the critical care team, they have been and day out from the day when the COVID was declared. And these poor chaps, they at times they could not go home. They just walked to work over there. They were staying in one of the hotel lodges where the hospital put up, because they had their older parents and kids out there, and they have been really working day in and day out in this hospital. So it's more of a dedication from these team of doctors. Yeah, we have other team of doctors also, but which is the critical team in any of the hospitals, which I have all my colleagues throughout the city, and also the medical colleges. If you see the critical team people, they are just having their, it's nothing, it's their job, but you have to have something in your heart to do that kind of job. And it's one thing what I say to my colleagues when initially they ask me, why are you going from why are you doing this for this? It's one life. You have to enjoy it, the work you're doing. And it's one life, one shot. You have to give the best of it. And I think so that's what we all are trying over here. That all the doctors, the nursing, the paramedical staff over here, all the hospitals everywhere, not only my hospital, the medical hospital, which I'm part of, but from the very beginning, it's not my hospital alone. It's our hospital, it's the other hospital, including the government hospital, and my friends, my junior colleagues and senior colleagues, they have been really working very hard trying to build it up in this adverse situations, not knowing what's the future is, but trying a level best for all the people.
Right. So to that level, as in, while we're talking about, one life, one chance, this would define me if I do this and if I do that, and how it would come to fruition. When you were, let's say, a young neurosurgeon, like, coming up in your field, when you were at the junior most levels, would you care to, if there were any, like, elaborate upon the numerous years at various places, if you were to recall one or a series of moments that was a form of defining moment in your career, what would it be? Like a key moment that, this would bring me to my next step.
The thing is, when you're working, you don't think about what is going on there. It's a routine thing that, okay, fine, I'm doing this operation next day. Okay, fine, how it's going to be the next day? I don't know the answer. But when you're operating on a patient, the main thing you're thinking, you have to save the life of the patients, or you have to do something so that you can help the patient. It's the thing is that when I was very young, in the first weekend when I was on call in Newcastle as a newly reg over there, means I was operating, and I operated on a lot of very sick patients. Over a weekend, six patients, and out of that six, only three survived. But that three survived was really intense on me. That yeah, you can save life when you think that everything is gone. Uh, then the people will think, oh, it's not gone. You have the humanity over there. That yep, the life is still uh, there. Then there was a young chap over here who was nearly on the brink of death. I don't know. He was doing his medicine and he had a clot. And told his father that we will take a chance. That was me coming back to Calcutta in the year one, way back in 2010. And then he said, whatever you want to do. And see, now he's done his medicine and he's a doctor himself. So these are the things what brings out in you that you think about, you have done the right thing. Okay, there are things, you have complications of the patients that they don't do well. But the thing is, you just go up to the patient's family and say, this has happened, unfortunately. And you have to say to them that this has happened, this was unexpected, it's unexpected, but there is no way you have done better than that. And that's the best way. Always speak the truth. And that's what's going to help you in the long run.
Right. But we've always seen, like, even whether it be in a cinema hall or whether it be in an article, we've always heard about when actually someone is pronounced dead. We've seen the perspective of the victims and their families of, being told this and being devastated. Right. But how about from the perspective of, like, of the doctor? How have you, even on like the first death of a patient that you had to deal with, or whenever it has actually happened, how have you, from the first time to now, how what has been like a form of coping mechanism, or how have you dealt with the loss of a patient, and how have you, you know uh, finally built yourself back up again and said, new day, let's move on, let's go ahead?
Any death is pretty bad for anybody, okay, whether it's a thing to any of your family members passing away or any of your patients. No one wants to see his patients dying, okay, or having any problem. But the natural truth of life is that you have to accept the death. That's your natural way. It's very hard to see if it's an old person and you know that he's passing away, that's fine. But when it's a young kid or a child or a very young kid or child or neonat or a young person, and for them to die, it's the worst part in this life. And this is what uh, hurts you at time. But it's the thing is, you just come down to your room, you just think about it, and then get on with your life and get on with this. That yeah, it's happened. It's that what we are doing, we should be very careful about it, and that's how sure we should go on with the life.
Right. That's a very constructive approach to working on it, because, as they say, that you can't be stuck in the past the entire time, because it won't let you move forward. So that brings this actually brings me to my next question. That you work in a field that allows, like, as compared to certain other scientific fields, you work in one that comparatively allows very, very little room for error. Being a neurosurgeon, uh, would you care to tell us about, let's say, a very amidst a surgery, a very close call that you've come across, or somewhere where, oh no, this is a critical condition, and might need to improvise to some level. Have you had any such
No,
moments?
see, it's always. Oh yeah, definitely. It's always that when a patient you're operating on, and at times you say that if you go in anymore, you're going to cause more harm to this patient. And at the point of when I was very junior and was starting means that way back in the UK, that you just call off for help from your seniors. And at the moment, the seniors just pops in and gives you a second hand. This is the main thing that what I've been saying, that at the moment when my DNB PGTs are operating with me, if there are any problem or anything, or if I'm facing any problem, I always ask my seniors or my colleagues to come in and give me a hand. So this is the main thing that you should that, okay, fine, this is the final bit. I should stop now or just call for a second help. And that's what makes you a better surgeon, to know when you want to have to stop or ask for help.
Right. That must be a very, that's actually something that would applies in multiple scenarios, as a matter of fact, whether it be as a surgeon or in any walk of life to that level, being able to call for that second hand. So of course, apart from your life as a doctor treating patients day in and day out, which is a commendable job in itself, you've also been the author and been a member of presentations of several academic pieces. So I think my question here is that throughout, the work into developing such a piece and presenting it at a huge stage, what has been the process like working with different professionals and
Yeah,
developing your works and finally presenting it in the response it gets from critics?
yeah, the thing is that whatever you operate on and whatever you do is you look at this that whether you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. And when you've got a large enough series of patients that you have done and you have done the right thing, when people are appreciating your work, I think so. Because the thing, what is going to be that in future, the juniors which are coming up, the juniors who are working with you, or the other people, juniors as the next generations which are coming, they need to learn at your work and see what's going on. So they need
Right.
to be trained well because when you are sick, you will be going to these guys before
Right.
doing. So
That
this is the way to move forward.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. So, I think another question that I have, everyone always asks, like during the time of another sequel to a movie is coming out, what's the next one? What's the next one? So, I think my question here is there any other such piece that you're working on now, or is there any other such academic piece that you're working on with any other scientist at this point that's under
Yeah,
wraps?
yeah. Means my next piece. What my thing is that I'm looking into the legal matters into the medical field because a lot of time that we are being unnecessarily harassed the medical doctors. And looking into the medical bit of it, that there is no constructive law compared like in India. Yeah, we have the medical council and everything, but a lot of time the judgments which are made are easily overturned. So the legal matters which are not being developed into India the proper way. So we are planning to do it in a big way, but it's a long taking game. It's going to come not over the next 3, 4 years or 5 years, but the legal thing which is coming up is going to be a big way.
Right. I hope that actually does come into fruition because through over the news, we've actually seen a lot of situations where doctors have been harassed over things that they aren't even responsible for. So, to that level, being in that professional and being in in the profession you are in, and the society that your community has to deal with, have there been cases where you have had to handle a scenario wherein you or your peers have been harassed in a similar way, because we knew about the whole
Oh yeah,
doctor strike
yeah,
last year.
yeah. There are, oh yeah, yeah. There have been a lot of cases when the people were being harassed. But most of the things that if you speak with the family, it's not the family members that do the problem. It's the people outside the family members. That's the main problem. So the family members, when they are in the grieving state or something, they won't say anything to you. But it is 99% of the cases, that's people who are outside the family members, they are the one which create. And most of the cases, it can be dealt by just speaking to the family itself. Once you speak with the family and everything, they will say that no, it's nothing to be done. Okay, we understand. And 99% of the case, yeah, not everyone will be happy with your thing. And so you have to get on with your life and just see how it goes on.
Right. Yeah, that as you mentioned earlier as well, you have to take that very constructive approach. But would you mind if that's possible, like taking an example of taking yourself an example of if anything comes to mind at this point, a situation wherein you have had to deal with any such situation wherein someone is
So that,
harassing your
no,
colleague.
means I can't get, yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. There was, I can't say it particularly because of patient confidentiality, but
Right, right,
end of the day, when we spoke, we sat down and everything with the family and told them this is what happened, this can happen. And they fully understood and said, fine, it's a part of life, let's get on. So you have to sit down, explain to them that this can happen. It's also the you have to speak to them what's the reality. You can't be saying that, you can't be bluffing that this will happen, that will happen. You have to paint them the picture that this can go wrong anytime, this can happen anytime. So with all this, yeah, some people will say, no, it can't. It's fine. But you have to tell them that this can go wrong at any time. And that's the way of life.
right. That is the best way of taking it through, that sitting down and explaining to the person in question that this is what's actually going to happen. So to that level, I think we've covered almost everything. And me personally, I'd like to end anything that I do on a very philosophical note. Something I've asked each person that I've actually had on here is a very retrospect, on something that you can take a lot if you were to think in retrospect, right? So what I'm getting at here is that, of course, you've been working decades on decades in your profession. You've accomplished multiple things in your field, some social work, dealing with patients. You've had drawbacks, of course, and successes. If you were to go back to that same situation of when you had to, again, when you were comparatively a youngster, dealing with the choice of, this field or that field, if now that you consider this entire path that you have gone through, would you have in any way, shape, or form changed how you would have gone about it, or would this still be the path you would have stuck to?
I don't think so. I would have changed myself. I would have still followed the same way. As I did it way back in 80s, I used to still go out for medical camps and everything. I've been following that in 90s also. Once I was in UK, I couldn't do it. Anyway, but over here, when I'm back, I think so. It's high time we should give it back to the society to a certain extent. And I don't have any regret for that.
Right. And to conclude on my level, I think I speak for a lot of hundreds of thousands of people, and in fact, millions of people when I say that, thank you. It's because of people like you that people like us and the people, and even to my level, I think my mother as well. My mother is actually one of your patients as well. So to that level, from her side, from multiple others, it's to those in your community as well. It's a huge thank you on our part and for all that you do. And, in terms of giving back to the society, it's because of the ideologies of people like you and those who work with you that certain something like this can actually be pushed forward. And I hope that the work that you're doing to in terms of the legal matters of helping these doctors out, helping those in your community itself out, comes to fruition in the due course of time. And I wish you the best of luck for that. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day to do this, doctor. Is there anything you'd like to say, or should we wrap up?
No, it's thanks a lot for talking to me. Hope to see you as a medical student in future. That's what I can say to you. If you want to meet good guys like you all to come into medicine.
Right.
And medicine is not finished. I need more guys to come, serious guys like you all to come in and do medicine. And that's the way forward, I always say. Thanks a
Rightfully
lot.
so, sir. That's the most amount. That's to that level, even on the level of being interested. There's a certain level of justice that should be done to, like, from generation to generation. Justice done to what the predecessors have done in their time. So, to that level, I hope there is that level of response from generation to generation. So, other than that, I think we'll wrap up for now. For those watching, I hope all of you enjoyed. And yeah, that's what that was.